On today's show, episode 32 of the Real Recovery podcast, we are excited to welcome Melissa Hereford. Melissa shares her incredible journey through recovery, reflecting on her struggles, resilience, and the transformation that has shaped her into the strong, inspiring woman she is today. From navigating generational trauma to embracing her identity, Melissa's story highlights the power of healing and finding one's true self. Tune in for a heartfelt conversation that reminds us of the strength within the recovery community.
Hello, and welcome to the Real Recovery Podcast. I'm Julie, your co-host. On this journey of healing and transformation, together with my co-host Peter, we dive into the heart of recovery, sharing stories that resonate with courage and inspiration.
That's right, Julie. Each episode is a new chapter in this vast narrative of recovery, and we're honored to bring them to you. But keep in mind the perspectives you'll hear are for informational purposes only and may not reflect the views of the podcast or our partners.
Indeed, while these conversations can be a powerful part of your recovery toolkit, they are not substitute for professional medical advice. We encourage you to seek guidance from your healthcare provider for any treatment-related decisions.
And if you're facing an immediate crisis, or if you just need to talk to someone who understands, don't hesitate to call the Recovery Crisis Line at 503-223-8569. That number is also on our website. Help is available 24/7.
Now let's begin our episode
of recovery, real recovery.
Welcome to the Real Recovery Podcast. I am so excited. We have Melissa here tonight, and we're actually doing this in the evening. And say hi, Peter.
Hi, Peter. Oh, I'm Peter with the Real Recovery Podcast, and I'm really glad to have you here. This is Studio H, my humble abode, my home.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, it'll make you feel a little more comfortable and less stressed about this. Some people get really stressed.
It feels relaxing in here.
Yeah.
We just have a conversation. There's no wrong. There's no right. And Melissa's here with her flawless eyelashes. I just want you to know, because you can't see them. And I am not dressed excitingly. Neither's Peter.
That's why it's a podcast, so you don't have to see our faces and how we're dressed.
I thought about it. I was like, oh, wait, I don't have to wear anything nice. It's going to be fine. Yeah.
We chaired and secretaried a meeting a couple weeks ago, Peter and I. It was Peter's 7th birthday. And in our meeting, there's a Zoom link too. And there's this big TV and your head is like huge on it. And I'd rather be on the podcast, bro.
Looking like a bobblehead.
Yeah, because when you sit up that close, the camera's like right there. So it's,
no.
you know what I mean? It's just...
And I was like, I'm used to hiding behind the microphone now. Yeah. So it was a lot. Welcome.
I'm excited.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear your story or where you're at. I believe you're working the recovery community, so I wanted to hear about that. Okay. And off air, you said something that I really appreciated, which was being two-spirited. I hope I can mention that. But yeah, I love the way you put that you're two-spirited. And for those who you can't see, and Melissa's Native American?
Yes.
So we're so glad to have you here and look forward to hearing your story.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm Eastern Shoshone, Northern Rapo. I come from Wyoming. I grew up on a reservation over there. This is my second time in recovery, so I'm not familiar. Now I'm starting to get nervous. Yeah, so this is my second time in recovery. I'm a mother. I have 5 kids. I just grew up really rough. My parents were divorced when I was 7. I seen my mother be domestically abused all her life by my stepfather. I just really had a really big chip on my shoulder growing up. I felt like if my parents didn't care about me, why should I care about me? Type of thing, you know? And I bounced from house to house. You know, it was just like, get in where you can fit in, and whoever had the time or whatever room, that's where I stayed. As I got older, I knew I was different. I just didn't know how different I was. I was raised to believe that you need a man to survive. You know, it was like, you got to grow up, you got to get a man, you got to get married. And I'm like, you know.
I've never done that.
Yeah. So I did do that. Set out and I did that.
Tried it out.
Yeah. And it took a while for me to be comfortable enough in my skin and with myself and growing to sit there and say, you know what? Yeah, I am two-spirited. This is who I am.
I
You know,
love it.
I'm bisexual. That's who I am. This is just who I am, and I accept myself for who I am.
How old were
you
you
s-
when you kind of came to that realization for yourself, or that?
This was probably not even, let's say, at least 5 years ago, maybe
Okay.
I love
6
it.
years.
'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah, like in my recovery is when I finally was comfortable enough to say it out loud. I've struggled with it for the longest time just because of family. I've had family say things to me about it. I had my uncle kick me out of his home because of it.
Mm.
So it's been a long road, right, on that road, as well as my addiction piece and getting clean and sober. And not only that, I was in so many abusive relationships. And it was like I didn't know what healthy looked like.
Right.
I never had a role model for that. I never had nobody to show me what that was, what genuine love is. No.
I can relate to everything. I'm hoping the next relationship is like Peter's. But
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Again, I have 5 children. My oldest is 26. They vary in age, 19, 16, 14, 15. See, I'm getting up there. I'm starting to get, but you know, and I also have 3 grandchildren now. So I'm also
That's
a
what I
grandma.
heard you say
Yeah.
in the class.
Yeah. I knew this last time when I was out running and gunning and being wild and doing all those things and being lost, you know, for the longest time after I lost custody of my kids and it was just me. I didn't care whether I lived or died. I really didn't. And I was done. I was ready to check out. You know, so much had happened in my life that I was just like, this is it. Until one day I decided I was at a party and these people around me were all passed out, sleeping. And I thought to myself, if I was to lay here and die, they wouldn't even know. They would
Right.
just think I was sleeping. You know,
Yeah.
they wouldn't know that. They wouldn't know do they even know CPR? Do I really want to die like this? I really
Yeah.
took a look at that and I was
No.
like, no, I don't want my kids to have to hear about this. I don't want my children to have to go through that. My mother, she drank herself. She had cirrhosis, but she kept drinking until the day she died. She just went to sleep. She didn't wake back up.
Mm.
And I thought, this is not how I want my children to feel. So I decided at that point, to get clean. And so I went to this shelter, which was a faith-based shelter. And I thought it was just like, oh, we're going to help you find a job type of thing. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
When it was like, hey, you're going to read this Bible every morning.
Oh.
I was like, oh, great. Because, you know, we have this trauma, you know, and that was also a thing too.
Yeah. Now,
Um,
when you were growing up, though, were you raised with the Native American cultural belief system, or were you raised differently? Or
No, with my grandmother on my mom's side, which I spent a majority of my time being raised, was Native American church. They were into our culture, going to sweat lodge, praying to Creator, and that's how I was raised. And then when I was 14, I ran away from home. And when I ran away from home, I was adopted into a Christian family who were also evangelists.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a mixture of all these things, right? Like,
Talk about difference, too.
yeah,
yeah,
Ouch.
yeah, a huge, vast difference.
Yeah.
And needless to say, I can say that the Bible did teach me to be basically a good human being, just gave me the basic layout of being a good human being. But my spirituality didn't come until later on. After I start working on my recovery, going through my journey, and horse recovery opened up and we were given a safe place to be able to reconnect back with culture.
mm-hmm.
I love that.
And I think that's when I really started to realize who I was as a woman, as a mother, as a human being, as a spirit. You know, things started to connect, right?
Yeah.
And because it was made safe for me. It was like, okay, you're safe here. You can be yourself. You can do this. All the while I started remembering, hey, I know how to bead. I know how to do beadwork. I know how to paint. I can draw.
I love it.
I can do all these things, right?
Yeah.
Why am I not utilizing that?
Well, I think when we're doing drugs and using, we forget about that we love, you know.
Yeah.
I think our life becomes not our own, you know. Yeah.
So it was just like, hey, Creator gives us these gifts, right? Some can drum, some can sing, some can have memory for song. I don't have those. I
can't sing
don't.
either.
Yeah, that is not my.
I can dance, no.
Creator's like, no, Melissa, you're gonna do this. You're you're going to do beadwork and you're going to be good at that, right? And my grandma taught me too that when you do your beadwork or when you're painting or doing anything with your hands, you talk to Creator and you pray and you think good thoughts.
That's like a form of meditation almost. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what's really helped me the most in my journey. And my recovery does look differently today. The first 2-3 years I was going to meetings back to back, and I still have the same sponsor. I worked the steps,
I love it.
done all that.
There's a lot of-
Today, yeah,
There's a lot of different ways to recover.
absolutely.
But I noticed that's the one thing I wanted to go to the CRM class for. I didn't, whether it's medication assisted treatment, NA, I think that as people stay sober, it expands. It doesn't just have to be one thing.
Yeah, pathways.
Many.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might try a couple just to try to figure. That's just what I did. And I started to realize this is who I am. And being able to say, yes, I'm a two-spirited woman. Yes, this is me. And so I started working in the recovery field. I've been working in the recovery field since. And it's been definitely a life-changing journey for me, because working in recovery is it's really going to force you to change whether you want to or not. And I really, truly believe that. I really believe that there are people in this world that really have it in their hearts to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just there, right? And then you have some people that maybe that wasn't their gift. Like I'm talking about gifts, right?
Yeah.
But they try it and maybe it don't work out, and then they go find other jobs, so on and so forth.
Right.
Or either they start changing and they get afraid of the change. That's a thing too.
Yeah.
I've been there. I was afraid a couple times of the change. I was like, do I really want to grow? Like, am I supposed to be here? That imposter syndrome starts kicking in, and I had to fight that. I had to fight that almost every day, and to be able to say, what, I belong. I'm a Native American woman.
You're a strong
in
woman,
recovery. And our people were oppressed for so long, for so many years. We were always told you can't do this, you're not supposed to do that. And battling that generational trauma of telling myself I do belong here and I'm supposed to be where I'm at.
Right.
Like, I'm just as smart, I'm just as capable.
Yeah.
And I've done more growth.
I'm here.
In the last 6 months. Who would have thought, being in recovery so long? But I will tell you, the podcast, going through people's stories. Matter of fact, Jared, it was like a therapy session for me. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool. Not that I don't feel bad about it, but I have different issues too. But I didn't admit I was molested until 56. And then just stuff keeps coming out. And then a news story impacted me. But this podcast, going through people's stories, has helped me heal in so many ways and grow in so many ways. And I have to tell you, you're a strong woman. I knew it the day in class. I loved it. But I'm a strong believer of you can do anything you set your mind to. Mm-hmm. And who'd have thought we'd have a podcast, right?
I thought I'd be sitting here and talking on a podcast.
I love it.
Like
I love it.
I would have never thought either.
I'd like to know, you said you lost your kids, right?
Yeah.
How'd you get them back?
So by working by doing the next right thing. Like this was the second time, right? So it was a cycle. It was a cycle for the longest. My children knew it was a cycle. It's, she's only going to get clean for so long. And it's all that. And like you said before, you're talking about being molested. I'm also a child of sexual assault from a very early childhood, like baby. And so we come from trauma and we have all these traumas. And so I had to really work through all my traumas and face those traumas and forgive the unforgivable, forgive my abusers, forgive myself. I had to learn to do all that in order to be able to be a good mother to my kids. How can I be a good mom to my children if I can't even nurture me? How am I going to nurture them?
Exactly.
So I worked really hard on that. I didn't force myself on them when I got clean and sober. I wasn't like, hey, mom's clean and sober now, love me. Like, I didn't do any of that. I didn't even try to call them or anything. I just left it up to Creator. I'm like, when it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Sure shit. I don't know if we could cuss on here, but
yes,
sure shit. Like one day I get a call.
Whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, I think it was like my maybe second or almost third year recovery. I got a call and it was like, hey, it's me. And they start talking, I'm like, who's me? Your child? And I'm like, oh, which one? Because they all sound the same. So it's Melena. And they started reaching out to me, wanting to know me. And so I got to know them. We started out small. I started out by not saying, I didn't make promises. I wasn't like, I love you. I didn't keep saying I'm sorry, because all that did was going to take them right back to their trauma, right?
Right.
So I had to honor their trauma too and honor them as people. So I did it. I just let it happen naturally, how it's supposed to happen. And one day the courts was like, hey, come pick up your kids. You're good. Come get them.
That's
I'm like,
so
okay.
awesome.
So I went and got them. Had them ever since for the past 5 years, 6 years, 5 years. Times of no relevance to me right now. But
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
I think that's amazing.
we worked on those. My daughter, my oldest, she's going through her things, but she's got her newborn son. So we have three. She has three. So I have
can't
three
believe you have
grandkids.
Grandkids. So
Yeah.
I can't either.
I bet.
Yeah. And my daughter my other daughter, she just graduated high school, 18, graduated high school. So I got one more. Well, between me and Jared, we got 4 more to go through high school. We're making it. And that's how I did it. I just kept doing the next right thing. There was times I wanted to give up. Those times I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
But it was like, I just had that hope, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I have to, the timing must not be right, because maybe there's something else I'm not learning yet. What I
Yeah.
mean?
I do.
So,
I say this saying all the time. There's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
Everything has a reason.
Yeah.
And it may not be known, but it'll reveal itself when
Right.
when you're ready.
Right.
And that's so appropriate.
yeah.
I'm a
the-
slow learner. No, seriously, I don't think that I was ready.
Yeah.
I think at first it was just enough to be sober, to stay out of trouble, not to go back to prison. And I think, like Peter said, God gives you what you're supposed to have when you're ready.
Mhm.
And he said, it's not time to
Yeah.
kill yourself at the job anymore. It's time to
Give back.
process your shit too.
Process your shit too. Yeah, with people who also have been through some shit. And that makes sense,
Yeah.
right? That's what we do in recovery.
Yeah.
We're able to stand up and say, hey, this happened to me too. And you're not by yourself. You're not alone.
Right.
And that's what I love about it.
You're not alone.
I'm not alone. And I had to learn that. And so I was coming here, I was like, what am I even gonna talk about? Like, I have so many stories, you guys. Like, I have stories for days, all kinds of stories, scary stories, funny stories. It's because I lived a lot in my life of living in different environments. They're
Yeah.
like, how do you know how to bake? How do you know how to do this? How do you know? It's because I lived in a different environment for a long. I lived with this grandmother for a minute. Then I lived with this one for a minute. Then I lived over here for a minute. Then I lived down here for a minute. So it's like all these environments in one, right? And that's why I have
Yeah.
all this
I think
wisdom.
that makes you really good.
Like
with people,
wisdom.
though.
Yeah.
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 Some people, my grandparents, it's like an old fashioned way to say it, but you're well rounded, you know?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, okay, I guess I am.
And I grew up in foster homes. I've been through foster homes. I've been through group homes. I've been in treatment. At my youngest age of treatment, I think was like 13 or 14, was my first time in alcohol and drug treatment. I had my first drink when I was 9.
Did you
Yeah.
ever go to, Jared mentioned being, I think it's
Wellbriety?
Wellbriety,
Yeah,
that's it.
Wellbriety.
Wellbriety meetings.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about Wellbriety meetings till I lived here in Portland. And that's the whole reason why I moved here, was for the recovery. Because I know if I go back home, I'm more than likely, I give it a year, I'll probably be drinking again. So I knew this is the lifestyle change I need to make.
Yeah.
So I stayed here for the recovery and the Wellbriety meetings. I enjoy them. I do out at the center, the O'Rourke Center out in Washington County, where I work. We have a Wellbriety talking circle. So it's more like a talking circle,
Yeah.
not so much the bigger meetings that they have at Painted Horse. So if you want the bigger meetings, those are there. But with that being said, yes, they're really good meetings.
I'm curious because what I learned from Jared when he was here, Jared
Mhm.
Murray, if those who are listening, his podcast will have been out when you hear this. And he started with a group. He always was very modest about that. It wasn't just me,
Yeah.
even though his name is at the
Yeah.
leadership level, but that it was because the culture wasn't being represented in the other AA meetings that were out there or the other recovery meetings out. And I'm curious with your perspective, because you were brought up in the
Mhm.
Native American culture, but then you were also partly brought up in that Christian
Yeah.
culture. And so I guess my question is, how is that been for you? The fact that you have this now cultural specific place to go, and B, how has that affected your recovery, or has it?
It's affected it to the point where I'm very much connected to my creator today.
Mhm.
I'm me today. I'm not afraid to be who I am today. And I know I have gifts that I need to share with others. And I know that today I'm a good mom today. I'd like to think of myself as being a good partner. After I met Jared, and the truth is that I did work at Paint It Horse. I was the first mentor hire there. And it was very fulfilling to be able to help my Native American women and start that. And I believed in that mission statement. I read his mission statement and I believed in that. I was like, yes, wholeheartedly, that's what I want to do. And so I started working there, and it grew and grew and grew. As so did I was the RSSC at one point. I was not hired as a RSSC, but again, it was just a few of us in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Wearing many hats.
Exactly.
Probably.
Wearing many hats. And then towards the end, I was the supportive services person. But I felt like I needed to know more. I need to know more.
Right.
This is not enough. If I'm going to help my people, I need to be better educated. That's just how I feel. My roots were growing that pot.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I hated to,
I love that.
I was like, I gotta go. This brain needs more food. And 4D was hiring, so I applied for that job and that position to be the regional director for Washington County, which I'm so grateful for. I got there, I started working there, I grew, even on days when I didn't want to grow. Again, I said that before, I grew so much working there and learned so much. 4D is amazing too. Surrounded by all these wonderful people in recovery.
Really
it gets better.
amazing.
After I left, it was probably like maybe a good couple months after I left, here comes Mr. Murray asking me to dinner. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, wait. Because, it was just weird.
Well,
Same
now
time.
you were in a conflict of interest.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
It actually isn't, because I was no longer working there.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
I haven't
Now
been
you
working.
weren't.
Yeah, now we
And
weren't.
you
So
had
it's
your own
like,
identity.
right. An identity. Thank you for
I
saying
love that.
And so it was like, okay. And we just been together ever since. And he is amazing. Like, he lets me be me. He honors me. He respects me. He loves me. I've never been in such a healthier relationship in my whole entire life. Like, this is what that looks like, right? I prayed for it for Creator.
Don't make me cry.
Maybe Creator was like, hey, you know what, Melissa, after you've been through all this, here you go. It's about time you deserve something good in your life, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm
he
hoping.
definitely is that good in my life.
I'm
He
hoping
keeps
that
me
once
balanced.
I process all the trauma,
Yeah.
I realize I'm in IOP right now, and IOP sober, right? And didn't have to go there for drug usage, but learning avoidance. I'm avoidant.
Mhm.
Learning that I have detachment, right? Learning that I have major abandonment issues. My parents got divorced at 9 months, and I went to a nanny's. So I get it.
Yep.
And I think I wish I would have gone to IOP sooner, to be honest with you. But it happens when it happens.
Yeah.
And I think for so long it was just enough for me to be sober. I was an IV drug user every day. And
Same.
the thing I can relate to you about, except for mine was different, but when I was by myself, I didn't really care what happened to me either, because I didn't care. Like, I really didn't care. I didn't care that I was involved with the escort service. I didn't care. I could do the time or whatever. But when I had my child, that's when, for me, right? That's when I stopped relapsing. That's when I actually cared. I have just one child. She's 32. And luckily she hasn't have to be around any of that stuff. And no trauma, right? The cycle's broken, but mine wasn't. Yeah, making a lot of subconscious decisions that I didn't even realize I was making.
Yeah, so definitely I had to start with working on me. If I didn't work on me and my shit and my traumas, like, I wouldn't be able to love anybody. It wasn't not like I can let somebody love me easy, right? But what do I have to give back? I need to, what am I bringing to the table? I got to love back too.
Yeah.
What does that look like? I don't know what that looks like. What does that look like? And to answer, I forgot your question, but I think it was being able to feel safe with somebody made it safe for me to grow.
Right.
And concentrate on that growth.
Yeah.
and not have to worry. And that's in itself has been a blessing. I'm able to focus on being a good mom. I'm focused on beading, painting. If I want to bead, he's okay. You're gonna bead. All right, cool. Sundays, I'm all right. Yeah, we got to get.
Watching football with Jared. I'm
yeah,
just saying.
you can watch football, Jared.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a good balance. We're very balanced, and we keep each other balanced. And I'm so super proud of him.
Yeah. I like what you said about having to heal yourself.
Yeah.
And love yourself before you could love other. And that's been something for me as well. And all our journeys are different, but I see these
Well,
common
I love
threads.
you so much,
you
Peter.
know?
Yeah.
I
Aw.
do.
But
Peter's
there's a-
like my
That's so
other
sweet.
half in a different way. Don't ask him what the score is of a game,
Yeah,
right?
I'm not a sports guy.
And
But I used to look in the mirror and just be like, just
Mhm.
really hate what I saw in the mirror.
Yeah.
And part of it was because I didn't really know who I was, because I tried to hide myself because of being a gay man. And when I was brought up, the churches were preaching homosexuality is
Mhm.
sin and you're perverted. And so I'm hearing all of this, that this is what I am. And I'm like, I'm not. That's what I'm being told.
Mhm.
And so I'm putting on a mask. And then you were saying how you are well-rounded, like you could fit into anything. That's how I was. I wore different masks to fit in with all the different situations. So because I wanted to be loved and I wanted to like who I was
Mhm.
and be proud of who I was, and to do that, I had to conform. That's what I thought,
Yep.
to whatever that view was to be like.
Exactly.
And it wasn't until much later that I realized that I could be who I am. And that also tied into my sobriety. And I don't know if this might be a question for you, but how has your identity tied into your sobriety? Because for me, I had to remove that mask and be able to come out fully as I'm a gay man and this is who I am. And in the recovery meetings that I was going to, they weren't very open about that. So I had to
Mhm.
find a group. It wasn't until I found a group that
Yeah.
I could be fully who
group.
I am. Yeah. And be comfortable. And so, and I was relapsing, until I got to where I am today, where I could be completely on. And of course, with the podcast, I had to share my whole story. So I was
We
like,
got
okay, I'm
naked.
completely honest. There it is.
Yeah.
No secrets and no skeletons in my closets.
Exactly.
Dude, for
Exactly. It's been a really good journey for me. I don't regret anything of my past. I don't regret anything today. I have no regrets about anything. During my sobriety journey, yeah, it took a minute for me to be able to stand up and say, this is who I am. There are two spirits in here that fight with each other sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. Like it's real. And I couldn't put it into words for the longest time because there was all that shame and guilt around it. And just all those, like you said, masking, like I masked with, don't get me wrong. My first husband who I married, I loved him, of course. I had my children, but maybe that was masking too, because I don't know if I was conforming.
Yes.
Exactly. It was conforming.
Mhm.
Today, I don't have to do that. Jared knows I'm two-spirited. He honors that, and he doesn't make me feel any type of way about it except safe.
That's so cool.
I'm
Can I
safe.
tell you safe is important. I
And
tell
my-
Peter this recently,
Yeah.
just recently. In IOP, we had this, Peter meditates all the time.
Mhm.
I haven't been that girl, being honest, but we did this one meditation, and it's the first one that really felt good. And she just says it like for 3 minutes, I just want you to know you're safe
Mm.
and you're doing just fine. And so in this transition for me, because I have to tell you, I'm really curious, like I'm going through all that stuff, but I can't tell you that I forgive you for some of the stuff that has been done to me. I can tell you I accept it. Yeah, but it's,
On your journey.
Yeah.
I'm not there. And everybody thinks, oh, you have so much sobriety and stuff. I think I focused on success in the corporate world for so long that I kept everything down. And
Mhm.
it's just like it bubbled over.
I think that's why they call it working on recovery. Like anybody can be sober. Like I can be sober, right? But what am I really doing for my recovery?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone to meetings consistently, done the steps consistently. But I think, I just worked so much that I think there was times in my life that were to raise my daughter and go to AA, and which is crazy because I don't drink. I've never been a drinker, but AA was a safe place for me, and a gay men's meeting was the fucking safest.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was
That's
the
what's
only
up.
girl there at
Yeah,
first.
That's
yeah.
what's up. I'd go there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming from prison and the escort service, I knew they didn't want to sleep with me.
Mhm.
And I didn't trust nobody when I got out of prison. Not a fucking soul.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about that internal. And for me, the change is like I got tired of apologizing. I got tired of saying I'm sorry. I got tired of having to just, again, look myself in the mirror and know I did this shit. I just got tired of that shaming. I got tired of it. And I
Yeah.
just got tired of apologizing. I think that's what the main thing was for me. I'm tired of saying I'm sorry. Like, here's all my shit. Here's it out in the open. Let's figure it out and let's help me figure it out. Like, I'm actually going to let people help me figure it out this time, right? I don't have to do it by myself.
It's almost
And
like
that's the
another
biggest thing.
dimension of recovery in that the alcohol, for me, it was alcohol that I used that as part of the masking from myself because I couldn't feel those feelings. I
Yeah.
had to quell them down. I was super shy and super awkward. And so that just made me, oh, I could do anything,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, it's that. And then the recovery itself, so yourself and what you did or what you, I guess it's hard
You
for
know
me to
what?
put in words, but I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, you're making sense.
Seeing you get emotional about our meeting, Peter, really makes me happy that you really found your spot.
Oh,
Like, yeah, I know you've always said that, but seeing you really get emotional, it was where you accepted. I'm so grateful.
because I guess that's where I'm going. It's like twofold. It's like accepting myself, but being in a place where I'm normal. They're like me. They understand what I went through. They've
True
had
colors.
similar, and they've had similar experiences. And so it's not only are they alcoholic, because the alcoholic, you talk to a normie and they're like, "Oh, I don't understand what you're,
Yeah.
so they understand that part of it, but they also understand that I'm a gay man and what I've been through
Mhm.
and the challenges I've had as a gay man. It's like it's twofold in a way.
Yeah. So I've had girlfriends off and on in the past. They're crazy. They were very crazy. But just saying, no, I've been down that road and I just come to the conclusion I'm gonna love whoever is meant for me.
Yeah.
And I found that person. And so I'm happy with that. The masks are off. Like the mask's been off for the longest time, you know.
I love that.
And it's so freeing, you
Yeah.
know, but it's not even about what other people think of me because I really don't care what other people think about me. Honestly, I don't. It's what I think about me.
Yeah.
I care about what I think about me today. What I do yesterday, does that affect today? Do I need to be better tomorrow? Maybe I need to be better tomorrow than I was today. And keep it moving and keep it
Yeah.
pushing and just keep doing the next right thing. Like that's all I can do. And with that being said, my kids watch me. My children watch how I'm participating in my life today. And
I know they're
they
proud.
respect me today.
Yeah.
And they say they do their chores today. They like, you know, and I'm just going to say this. I have a transgender son and I have two bisexual daughters, a bisexual son, I believe. And so they always laugh and they're like, Mom, you gave us the gay. And I'm like, okay. And you know, because I always told them, be true to you. Because
Maybe
I was
just feel comfortable.
to
Never
give
felt
them that
comfortable
environment.
being who I was.
I
and
love
That
that.
I didn't have.
Yeah.
I love that.
I really love that and how it also relates to they painted horse, the true colors, I can't remember the other meeting that we looked into, but all the different cultural based meetings or lifestyle based meetings
Yeah.
so that you can't be comfortable
Like-
and you don't feel like you have to suppress who you are.
I had that. I had a instance with that where I was fresh out of inpatient, doing outpatient. I went to a meeting at the Alano Club, and I love the Alano Club. They have really good meetings there. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying nothing about them, but I'm just saying I went to a meeting there. And when I went down in the meeting, I was sitting there. I was not paying no attention to anybody because I'm really an introverted person too. So if I have to be in a big place, I'll just focus on what's in front of me. So I was just focusing on what's in front of me, right? And I sit down, I get to this meeting, and then I look up, and all I see is Caucasians everywhere. I was the only brown person in that room, and I felt really uncomfortable
Yeah.
and just sad for some reason. I don't know why, but I was just like, oh, I don't belong here.
Yeah. Alone, maybe.
And I didn't, and alone. And I
Yeah.
didn't like that feeling. I did not.
Yeah.
And so when, like I said, when I read Jared's mission statement, I was like, yes, we need that.
Yes.
That is something that is
Yeah.
needed in this community.
I don't thrive unless
And
I'm in a diverse atmosphere.
yeah.
And I don't. Like, that's been the problem where I'm at now with the career. I have never felt like I belong there. It's crazy, and not wanting to talk about my recovery at first. And then I just was like, whatever. But it wasn't embraced. Yeah, just it was very uncomfortable. And I love what you said, loving a person for the person. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't. And
it
I think
doesn't-
it's also too, like, I'm learning this too now, like where I'm at now, I'm learning to be okay wherever I am. It doesn't matter who's in the room, whether they be white, brown, purple, green, orange, or yellow. I got to be okay with me to be okay enough to be in this room.
Right.
That's what I'm learning today. So it's vastly
Yeah.
different from that. But yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, like I said, I'm still growing. You grow even when you don't want to grow, working
Well,
in this
Yeah.
recovery field. And, you know,
No,
it's
for real. I think if you
Yeah.
stop growing, that's when you have
that's
to
when
worry.
it's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. When
People
you're getting
that
too
just
comfortable.
say,
Yeah.
people that just say, "Oh, I'm recovered," or
Mm.
"Oh, whatever."
Wow.
That's when you relapse. I'm being honest,
Yeah.
and that's when I don't know.
I think when you're new and you're fresh
Yeah.
in anything, if you can have people that you feel are like-minded and accepting, so that's why Painted Horse and True Colors and these other meeting spaces. Even you talked about the Alana Club, and I'm the one out here, the East County Alana Clubs, where I first got sober,
Yeah.
and it's very East County,
Yeah.
very conservative, and that for if you're comfortable there, that's
Go
great.
there.
That's the
And
place
just
to
like
be.
you were saying
Mhm.
yourself earlier too. You're like, I'm not even an alcoholic, but I'm going to AA meetings. Like I went to AA meetings, CMA meetings, Al-Anon, all these meetings, and I was getting recovery wherever I can get it.
Yes.
Because that's
Yeah.
how bad
That's
I
how I
wanted
feel
it.
now,
Right.
And it's
So it's
crazy
like-
because the last couple years since I went to that True Colors meeting, right?
Yeah.
The one I was telling you about, where I was just like in awe of
Mhm.
Amanda, and
Love her.
yeah, but
Mhm.
like we share a lot of stuff. But when I went to that meeting, then like the next week I'm chairing at Kings and Queens.
Yeah.
And that was
I love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm chairing at Different Than Me meeting. Let's just say that. I chaired for Patio at one of her meetings, and it was completely different. And that's when I broke out of my shell, because I always felt safe in our meeting. So I didn't venture out a lot and work 7 days a week at noon and 7 nights a week at 6. So yeah, I felt very comfortable there. And branching out, learning different stuff has been the best thing that really happened to me.
Yeah.
And then Peter asking what we wanted to do and doing this has taught me more than I ever thought possible. Just like going to the CRM class. Like, I know I might not be rich, but I'm a billionaire in recovery capital. I'm
For
just
real.
telling you, I'm
Me
a
too,
fucking
same.
billionaire.
I'm like,
okay?
yeah, we're billionaires over here.
And can I tell you, that makes
Yeah.
me feel so good, because I see people come in the rooms and I never know what makes them not stay sometimes. And I know that no matter what the fuck goes on, I'm going to be in recovery tomorrow. In sobriety,
Right.
that's the one thing I am extremely confident, because I do the work all the time. And I don't like, oh, I know it all. I tell it all the time. Shit, I'm just trying to find my place now. You know?
If anything, too, in my recovery journey, life happens. You know, I had a reservation in the beginning. I did. I had a reservation. I was like, if my grandmother was to pass away, I don't think I could walk through that. But I walked through that. I walked through that sober. I had an uncle die of a fentanyl overdose. We were really close. This was about 2 years ago. That's still really hard for me. I had a twin cousin who, there's a set of twins. She died from cirrhosis of the liver. A lot of people in my family passing away. Life stuff, stress stuff, financial. They say romances and finances. Thank God it ain't the romances, but not the finances either. But it's life stuff. And today, it's life still happens. My son's out on the streets right now, and he is in his addiction. And he's 19, still a baby. That's hard.
Yeah.
As a mother, to watch that and see that and not know where he is. And I can't even begin to explain that feeling.
I know.
Yeah.
I actually get it. And what's sad is that you can be strong and in recovery, but it doesn't mean you can give that gift to someone. Because if I could, I'm going to tell you, there's a few people that I already would have given it to, and it's not easy. And it's not easy watching people hurt themselves.
Oh, I know I'm sober.
Yeah,
And I'm going to be sober tomorrow too.
that way.
If
Whenever
he
does
decides
reach out,
he does.
exactly.
And there's so many mentors out there. I'm just saying, there's so much options, and we have so much recovery, and we have a lot
It's
of
getting
places
better.
you can go now today, and youth places as well. 4D's got youth. We got a youth center downtown. Like, I'm hoping he goes and finds it. Like,
That's what I was just thinking.
you know, and like with True Colors, like if should my other kids ever need it, it's there. Like, and
Yeah.
it's just hanging on to that hope the best I can.
Yeah.
But life still happens. It does. It definitely does. But you have to get through it, and it's about getting through it and having a safe place to do it. Right.
Yeah. Even
So,
in
yeah.
my 40s, that was when I was figuring out I I loved alcohol too much. But being a gay man, when you want to go out and meet or do anything, I mean, everything circles around that bar, you know.
Yeah.
So as you go into, and I didn't have a True Colors, right? So I think that's so important that those places are appearing, and hopefully they're appearing in other cities, because it's like, where do you go? What do you do? And
Well-
and the hopelessness of being, in your situation, but then even if I get sober, what's my life like? What is there for me?
Back.
Yeah.
It's all about giving back after that. It's all about
You don't keep
the
it
next
unless you
recovering
give it
addict
away.
who you can help. And that's why I love my job and what I do, right? And
Yeah.
in Wyoming, where I'm from, they're starting peer services over there, which is really awesome.
That is awesome.
But my only question is, if it's your relative, what does that look like for them? Because everybody's about related on the reservation. Like, how are they going to work this, right? Like, my mind has so many questions, but I'm just so happy that it's starting to spread, right? And if my people back home can get that little bit of recovery piece that I had too, there's more hope too, right there.
Exactly.
And that makes me feel good.
Yeah. And I
So-
think that again, back to Painted Horse, but I think, and it's what True Colors is too, and the youth at 4Ds, that what they creating spaces that cater to you, meaning that you feel comfortable in
Authentic.
authentic. That's better than catering to. Be authentic places so that you can truly explore your true self.
Right.
And not, because again, if I'm a gay man and I'm going to a straight conservative group, I'm not being my true self. So how can I truly become sober, right? Because I have, like you said in the beginning, you had to be good with yourself before you could get good with others or with your life.
Definitely. And it started, the pivotal change was when I went back to ceremony. I was in the ceremony. It's an all-night ceremony. And there was just something that happened to me while I was in there that, like, the best way I can explain it is we go through life and we're trying to fill these voids in our heart and in our soul with drugs, with alcohol, with everything, with relationships, where we're searching and searching. I felt like I had finally been found. Like, after that ceremony, and I woke up, but after we walked out that morning, I was whole. Like,
I
I
love that.
didn't need anything. Like, all those spaces were filled.
They're filled. Yeah.
And I was home. And I was like, how can this be wrong? This is things that my people's had for thousands of years. How can I've been this whole time, like my grandmother was like, Melissa, you need to go to a meeting. Melissa, you need to this, and, sing song. Like, she was always like trying to get me involved. My aunts were trying to get me involved in this. And they would talk to me about it, tell me stories about it, about my grandfather, about how my grandpa used to sing the songs, like, and constantly like trying to get me to get interested, or wouldn't. And I just regret that. That's okay. So I do have a regret. I regret that I didn't listen to my grandmothers and my aunts. When I had the ceremony right there in front of me, and I
Right.
took it for granted. But today I don't. And so after that is when I was like, okay, all my pieces are here. And I felt
Maybe it came when you were ready, and maybe you wouldn't have appreciated as much as you do.
Or had the
And-
passion come out of it that you have today
yeah.
to
Yeah.
do what you do.
Yeah.
And the leader that you are, it's like Peter. The other place gave him some tools, but then When he got to our meeting, he felt
It
comfortable.
was
And
what you were just describing. I was like,
Yeah.
that's exactly how I felt. Like
Yeah.
I was whole. I was somebody.
Home.
I'd made it in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just it's like a warm home feeling. It's just like
Yeah.
a warm biscuits and gravy feeling, like type of thing. It's just
I
you're
love
good,
that.
right? And
Warm biscuits and gravy. I love that.
it's just that type of feeling. And after that is when I really took off on just how becoming a better person. Because sometimes I still act out on character defects. Sometimes I still say shit I shouldn't. Sometimes I hurt Jared's
Amen.
feelings and I shouldn't. And I apologize. But today I apologize right away.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I was acting out on my trauma. Like,
It's me. If
and I do
feel
my best
unsafe-
not to do it again.
Yeah, if I feel unsafe, I will probably cuss you the fuck out.
Yeah.
I think for a long time, being an only child, I
Uh-huh.
stick up for me and I take care of me, and I'm extremely independent, which is where work comes in. The thing I like about that is nobody tells me what to do because I pay my own bills, right?
I like that too.
Yes.
I pay my own bills too.
and
I pay my own bills. My car's in my name. Yep, everything's in my name. So I get it.
I love
feels
that.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that has given me a lot of pride and stuff like that. Not false pride, but hard-earned pride.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, once you feel like you belong, you don't ever have to be alone again. And I think in recovery, it's important to have that foundation like you do. I know that, like we said, recovery capital.
There's one thing I really don't often talk to people about, or I've never spoke on it, but when I was 14, I did try to commit suicide,
Oh my.
and I almost succeeded. Family was told to come in and say their goodbyes to me, that there was no more they could do for me.
Oh.
Well, I'm really glad that you didn't.
I am too. Today I'm really feeling
You
that.
have
Like,
s-
Yeah.
you
I'm
have
glad I
such-
made
You have such a better purpose, and I
Uh-huh.
like different type of people, and I like you're not like a bullshitter.
Nope.
That you know,
I nope. I just
I'm the same
no.
way, and
I can't.
I'm super outgoing.
I
And
try to be more tactful, put it that way. I try to be more tactful, a little bit more sensitive about it today, but
What
I just can't not.
for just a little
Go
bit
ahead.
on that for someone who, because there are others out there who listen, we hope that we
Help.
trigger something for them to avoid
Mhm.
that pain.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're okay expanding on what brought you to that suicidal moment and how someone who is in that moment might see that, no, there's something beyond, there's hope.
Okay. So when I talked about earlier how I felt like my mother and my father didn't care about me, so why should I care about myself? It went to that extreme. Should I even be here? So I was 14. I was drunk. I drank a fifth of tequila. I was at a party.
It's my worst
And I
alcohol.
just said, and I just said, I don't need to be here anymore. And half of it I don't remember vaguely, but I do remember swallowing the pills. I took all of my grandmother's medication, and I was like, I'm done, And I think that's what it was. And it was just, it came out through the alcohol, and it just, you know what I mean? But when I woke up and I came to, and I was like, oh, I'm still here. They put me into treatment right away. My biological father wasn't letting me out of there. And I call him my biological father because he didn't raise me. My stepfather raised me. But again, another story. Like, I have so many stories. But anyway, so I got out of that treatment center. And when I was at my grandmother's, I was sitting there. My uncle came in and he handed me an eagle plume. And he said, here you go, Melissa. He said, I prayed for you with this.
love that.
You're going to live a really long life, and you're going to live to be an old lady.
Wow.
And don't you ever do that to us again. And he gave me that eagle plume.
That's powerful.
And it was like, okay, maybe I can do this. Somebody does care,
Oh,
Yeah.
and look at the lives you're
So-
impacting now,
Yeah.
right? Not only your own, your kids, but in the recovery community. And I'll tell you, I say this about Tony, but he has surrounded himself with the most dynamic, fantastic team.
Mhm.
Every time we meet somebody from 4D and True Colors and whatnot, I'm gonna try to get Fernando now.
Yeah.
Because our goal,
He's a cool dude too.
yeah,
Yeah.
when Amanda said anytime she reaches out for help, but our goal, and Peter puts them up on the website, right? That now if somebody wants to go to Painted Horse, we have it on our website, right? We have
Oh,
4D on our
nice.
website. We have True Colors on our website. If we know something's going on in Hillsboro, We post it. We post Skylar Ray's stuff all the time. That's my dude. I love him. Fucking love him. But yeah, and he's sponsored on his tour by 4D.
Well, thank you guys for coming up with this, because this is amazing and it is going to reach a lot of people.
Well, and I think like the reason I want you to expand a little bit on your at 14 what you went through is that hopefully somebody who's having those thoughts,
Gets
because
help.
I had thoughts like that, and if you hear this story and you hear where Melissa is today and how she came out of it and what we call the promises, but it's that if you can hang in there, there's hope.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can find a place that is of people to you so that you can feel comfortable and be able to be honest with yourself, look what you can have today. Look
never
what,
have
look
to
what
be alone
Melissa
again.
has.
Be afraid to ask for help or talk to somebody.
Yeah.
If I had talked to somebody, it probably would have been different, you know?
Yeah.
If you would have had a role model like
yeah,
you.
if I had somebody.
Yeah.
And every single one of these centers, and there's meeting spaces, there's just people, there's online spaces. All these people, there's someone out there that's been exactly where you're at today. So reach out. Don't hesitate.
That was the whole point in the
Please.
podcast, right?
Please
Yeah.
do.
You're in your car.
Yeah.
And
So at 4Ds, they have a link, right? That they can click
Yeah.
to
Yep.
get a peer mentor. So
Yes.
go click
So there's two
click the link.
colors?
There's
Yeah.
referrals.
they all have peer support
Just
services.
Put it in your Google, the name of what you want,
MacBo-
and pop
Yeah.
up,
Look
go
at
to the
MacBo
website.
has them now. Oregon Health Authority has them now. It's coming at you from all directions because the police ain't going to solve the problem. Okay? Recovery really is the answer. And I think people are realizing that. Police can give you a timeout. Yes, I needed it.
I needed it.
Yeah. And honestly, I went to AA to get off parole. And I stayed. I was so scared to not
I
stay.
did so much county time, I cannot even begin to tell you. And I was looking at prison time. I was looking at time. And again, another story for another day. But it was pretty scary.
I'm
but
gonna
I've done
tell
this.
you, county is hard time.
It is hard.
The food is disgusting. I'm just saying.
Sometimes though.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna tell you, personal
Yeah.
thing. The food is better in prison than in.
I
county.
believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. They're like, at least you get to walk around in prison.
Yeah, I went
Yeah.
I was lucky.
County.
I went to boot camp, and it was really cool because we took religion class on Sunday, and I took the Native American class.
Nice.
And the lady I did my fist up with is Native American, and I have a feather from her that I've had for 27 years, and she does the sweat, the full moon ceremony. So I got to learn about it, and it was very cool. Like, I'm open-minded to everything, and I will say, luckily, I was raised in a Catholic school, but I didn't have a bad experience in Catholic school. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
little different.
You're one
My
of the
my
few.
grandmother was in the boarding schools. My grandma, she would tell me her sister, how they would talk their language behind the buildings. Lucky the boarding school they were in, she said the pastor wasn't too mean to them,
Yeah,
you know.
ours
But
either.
she was still in the boarding schools and seen other things happen. But that trauma is real and it carries on.
Yeah.
And I always wondered why I didn't come from an affectionate family. We didn't hug each other and say I love yous and all this and that. And so sometimes, like, I have to remember that, and I have to. Jared's lovable and hugs me, and okay, this is affection.
Yeah.
And when I hug my kids today, they don't have to ask to hug me either. They just come up and hug me now, and
Same.
it's breaking those generational traumas.
Whenever I think of Jared,
Yeah,
do no harm. Do
Yeah.
no harm.
he is a really good person. I really enjoy his spirit and the person that he is, and I'm grateful that he's in my life, and I get to call him my partner.
Yeah.
Because
And
it is
what
my
a,
partner. Like, I get to be me over here. He gets
and
to
you
be
get
him
to
over
be
here.
a
We get to
power
share.
couple in recovery, right? Like we talk about in Capital.
I'm gonna say humbly because I'm
Yeah.
not, but that's cool. And
No, I think so.
again,
Well-
like I got so many stories, and my mind's just going everywhere. But at the end of the day, I'm really glad that you guys invited me to do this because I know there's a lot of people that don't know me.
Yeah.
That I might be a little intimidating to them at times, but I'm not really. I'm actually a really nice person.
Yeah.
And a very honest person
I'm
and
tough
a
on the
very
outside,
helpful.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
I
hear you.
think a lot of people are afraid to approach me because they're like, oh, she's so stoic. We're natives where we look like that. I'm sorry, this is just how my
just
face
how it
looks,
is.
but I'm really not. I'm really a nice person.
Sometimes I think it's our journey too, when you go through a whole bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
you don't know. And
Yeah, I care.
yeah.
I care.
Yeah.
Like
I care too
I
much
care.
sometimes.
Oh,
Even
I get that from you for sure.
I give a
So,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
tell me about it, you know?
I
Like,
appreciate so much that you made time
and
to
I
be
appreciate
Yeah.
the story that
on
you don't share often because our listeners, it's good. Like I was saying, our whole goal was like somebody's in a car, right? Are they thinking about this? Hopefully, we can change their mind to think about that.
right.
We've done stories on bipolar, eating disorder, any kind of recovery.
Said, girl, I have so many stories like a domestic violence.
Well, maybe you'll come back with
geez.
us again.
Yeah.
My stepfather was a drug dealer. Like just all these. I was almost killed by these men a couple times. One time I was put in a trunk of a car. Just all good. I jumped from the car going 55 miles per hour to save my life.
my gosh.
Like both of my children's fathers are. One got hit by a car. He's deceased. The other one died from COVID.
Oh,
Over the years, stories for days. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
man.
I bet you we have. Look at.
And
We
you
could
came
get
through.
together. We have some good ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
and you came through it all.
I
and
did.
you're here today.
I did.
And you're giving back in such a powerful way, which
I
is
There's a
hope
reason.
so.
so
I
awesome.
hope
Oh
so.
yeah, there's a reason.
Yeah.
In the most humblest way. I hope so because
Yeah.
it's got to be for something. It couldn't
Yeah.
have
It
been
is.
for nothing,
That-
right?
Look at you, executive director. Come on now. It is for an absolute
I am not an executive director yet.
you're the director?
Regional director.
regional director.
I said yeah, but regional director.
It's
Maybe
coming, girl.
someday.
It's
Who
coming, girl.
knows? Who knows?
And hopefully I'll go to regional like at some
Yeah.
point in time.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. I love my job. I love the people. Again, like you said, Tony surrounds himself with good people.
Oh, 4D's
They're
doing
all
good
amazing.
work.
It's a good place to work. There's people are cool. I get to be me in my office, and
We're
I don't
seeing
have
good work
to-
from we had this guy, Dr. Dave here, that's
Yeah.
a chiropractor, right? And he gives back and he actually mentors or sponsors a guy in our group who's a chiropractor that lost his license too. We've seen so much good stuff from so many places. It is enlightening
Mhm.
that it's not just AA, that there's more out there, there's different ways. So that's what we're hopefully trying to share. I thank
Yeah.
you.
There's I've even had mentee. Remember when I was a mentor, I had mentees. They don't talk to me about AA or NA, and so we would take them to other things going on too as well. So there's some people that are not wanting those.
Oh,
There's still other
absolutely.
stuff to go to and other
Oh,
activities
yeah.
you could still
Circle meetings. There's
still participate in. You're not
Yes.
excluded just because of that. Like you
Yeah.
can totally be involved.
Yeah, exactly. And I
Right?
think that's what's great about all of these facilities that are coming up and the different types of meetings that are out there. Even COVID, in as bad and horrible as those times were, out of it came Zoom, and people can connect
Still. Yeah.
who aren't able, maybe housebound, or maybe you have to move across country, and you can still connect to a home group that you
Right.
love.
I went to a meeting
I think
in
it's
every
awesome.
state.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I went
Right.
to a meeting in every state. Me and my friend.
What?
Yeah.
Did you make it like a goal?
So we started out in Alabama, and I almost shit my pants in that meeting. And I'm with. He's wearing his rainbow fucking hat, Izzy from GTD.
Oh, I
right?
love it.
And
He's
so
cool.
we're there,
Yeah.
and they say, "Don't be a distraction. Don't move on the screen." And I'm like, "Fuck!" And then and then he shares, and I'm like, "Whoa!" And then it was just so different than our meeting. Then I went to Alaska, a lot of Native Americans, and not a lot of long-term sobriety. There was a lot of people getting early coins, but let me tell you, it was an adventure, and it was during COVID.
Nice.
And we were tired of doing this one thing, so we did, and I shit my pants. And
You know, yeah, and sorry to interrupt you. I was talking about COVID 2 days ago, and I said the thing about it with me doing a lot of county time, it really didn't bother me. Like I was cool with it. Like I could read a book and stay in a small room.
I
You know,
actually-
do you
You
know
had
what
the
I'm saying?
experience.
Yeah.
as long as I have money on my commissary, I need good
You'd be like
snacks.
DoorDash.
To the Justice Center. Oh, that would be great.
Oh
No,
my gosh.
I was okay with it too, staying at home, walking my dog, just staying in our own space. And luckily I was with Sprint at that time, and we moved 537 employees home in 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah, they
Wow.
gave us a whole bunch of money for that. So it was good.
Dang.
But I didn't mind working from home at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't
Yeah.
bring back bad memories of being in a small sell.
Because I went to boot camp.
I didn't read.
You didn't have that.
I would like.
What is
I
it?
just read a lot of books.
PSTD or whatever.
PST.
So you know what?
PTSD.
PTSD. There you go.
I went to boot camp. So I was in a dorm. And then 3 days a week we went out and worked. I didn't have nails and I chopped trees. And I was like,
Nice.
what the fuck, right?
I would love to
and
see
then I
that.
picked up,
I want to see that.
Trash. It made me really humble. Okay.
Yeah.
And with a really good work ethic. And now
I bet.
I ran 6 miles each day. I came out of there fucking Shira.
Love Shira.
Yeah, no, I
Shira's
was like,
the best.
what'd you say? Enjoy getting all my hair cut off because
Oh, I
they
bet.
cut your hair too. I still have it in a bag. But yeah, no, it was an experience, but it was a good learning experience. And I got a time cut.
There you go.
And-
Worked out.
Yeah,
That's nice.
that was the most,
Nice.
yeah. And I got to graduate from prison, not get released. And that was, yeah.
Oh, that's different.
It is.
Yeah.
And I went
Yeah.
to Pathfinders. I was in the first class of Pathfinders. I went to one of their barbecues this summer. And I was like so proud because I'm almost out of prison, 30 years.
Nice.
And I had the most recovery, the most time out of prison. And I took one of their first classes and I still have my certificate. And I was just like, and I'm passing out podcast cards everywhere.
Yeah.
And I saw my ex's ex there. And I was like,
My ex's ex.
yeah.
And
And
I
I,
saw baby's first cousin's mama twice
Yeah.
removed from the third side. I was
and
like,
I didn't know,
What?
I didn't know it was her.
yeah.
And I was even more grateful for my recovery after that day.
Yeah.
I was a little judgmental at first, but by the end of the day, I was praying for her and that hopefully she gets some of what I got, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a sister. I call her my sister. She's my ex-sister-in-law from my first husband, Robert. He passed on. But we fought. Girl, did we fight? We fought I don't know how many times. But we hung out. And then towards like the past end of my addiction, we were like tight, thick as thieves. She went to prison. She just got out of prison not too long ago. And she messaged me the other night. She's like, hey, sis, I was in group. And I just shared with them that I really look up to you.
Oh,
Nice.
And I was
wow.
like, what?
No, you
Me?
didn't.
What? You lie. You
Don't you
liar.
love
No,
that though?
But it
Yeah.
felt good. And I was like, wait a minute. You look up to me?
I
And,
love that.
and I had my little cousin too recently tell me the same thing. And it's wow.
It's a full circle.
Yeah. And people you wouldn't think, right? So yeah, it does. It definitely feels good. Again, story for days.
Yeah. Well, we'll
Yeah.
have to have you back. And
Yeah.
again, we appreciate you being on our show.
Really, I
Um,
hope I said everything I needed to say for people out there to, want to get recovery and to get
Yeah.
clean and
If not,
do what you
come
got to
back.
do, all
Yeah,
that.
because what we're hoping, I'm actually going to reach out. If 4D, Painted Horse, True Colors, if we can even do a quarterly meeting or something like that and get us all together, we'd love to be the platform to get the word out. Does that make sense?
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
And say what's going on, say what activities, whatever, because maybe someone will hear them and go to a thing. I know personally, we have a guy that struggles in our group and I'm listening to your podcast. And every time it inspires me. And that was our goal.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Tony question to me, though.
Yeah.
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 Oh, well,
I mean, I'll be there,
This'll be
but
offline.
yeah,
This'll
yeah,
be
yeah.
we're
offline.
dropping off.
Yeah.
I'm
No.
dropping off his shirt and I'll send
Yeah,
him an email.
yeah.
But I'm going to let him get married for a minute.
Let him be a married man for a
Yeah.
while, huh? That honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, leave him alone for a minute. But I think it's good to get the platforms out.
It is.
At the very least, you can visit our website. We'll have we have links, like we said, to everybody that we've talked to
Yep.
who's from a facility or a meeting space. Try to get all those links on there.
Yeah.
And then we have some emergency contact sheets that are on there that you can download or bring up on your phone. So another resource. There's
I love that.
a lot, but I don't think you can have too many. So
love
wherever
that.
you can find it, you'll get it. And so again, thanks for being on our show. This
You're
is
very
Peter,
welcome.
Real Recovery Podcast.
This is Julie, and thank you, Melissa.
You're very welcome. Thank you
Thanks.
both.
Thanks for listening.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks to each and every one of you for lending us your ears and hearts. Your engagement is what fuels our passion and keeps this podcast thriving.
We cherish the moments we share here and hope they resonate with you, whether you're on a daily commute, at the gym, or just taking a moment for yourself.
Make sure to head over to our website at realrecoverypodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to our newsletter for the latest insights and uplifting stories from our community delivered straight to your inbox.
Click that subscribe button on your favorite podcast player too, so you can keep up with every new episode. It's your support that keeps our conversation alive and meaningful.
And if our stories have touched you, consider using the donate button on our site. Your contributions, no matter the size, are deeply appreciated. They help us continue our mission of sharing hope and healing.
Join us beyond the podcast and follow our journey on social media. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and on X, formerly known as Twitter. All the links are on our site, so you can stay connected and be a part of the Real Recovery community every day.
Your likes, shares, and comments not only spread the message of recovery, but also remind us that we're all in this together.
So, until we meet again, remember that recovery is a journey, not a destination, and we'll be here to accompany you every step of the way to recovery, real recovery.
Thanks for listening.